Morning, morning. How is everyone? Let me know if you can't see me or hear me. Everything looks good on my end. Hope everyone's well. Sunday morning here, the 18th of July in Melbourne, Australia. I know it's yesterday for many of you in the evening, especially in the US. As always, wanting to springboard off my last recent videos, and if you guys had any questions or comments regarding them, keep your questions civil and not like they resemble something coming out of the schoolyard. Sometimes I wonder with some people, you get them in the comments and you think, why are you on my channel? I don't know what you get from my channel at all. Yeah, look, I know I'm going to get random drive-by kind of viewers that stumble across it and they want to throw mud and then walk away immediately. But yeah, sometimes you get odd comments in the comment section by people where you really wonder, are you in the right place? Anyway, yeah, I've been thinking about people who analyze a lot, who are skeptical, and how it's hard to find like-minded people. And I'm also penning another video about why it might be hard for you to find like-minded people, given your personality. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to what I keep thinking is important, that I keep trying to sort of push forward in these videos, is to know thyself better. The more you know yourself, the more you'll know the world in which you relate to. People, things, your routines. You don't just walk around, you don't just sleepwalk through your life, just being pushed around like a pinball because that's the way you're supposed to go, that's the way they tell you to go. Anyway, let me have a look at. Remember, guys, if you want to ask any questions in the comment stream, make sure you add a whole bunch of emojis before your question, just so I can see them a lot easier. Let's start with a few comments from the recent few videos that I thought should be highlighted again, just so they don't get lost in the graveyard of comments. John says, don't swim where other men have drowned. That's true. You, see, this is the thing. To know yourself well enough to know whether you're overreacting, whether you're being unrealistically afraid that you're overcompensating with being completely sterile and safe in your life. For instance, people perish in car accidents. Does that mean I never drive my car? That I never drive my car a little too fast? There's levels of risk and there's complete safety. And I know the environment out there in the world, especially with relationships, but just generally in the world today, it's getting more and more precarious, more and more tense. That maybe I should put my glasses on because then it looks like a stream. It doesn't mean that the answers to life, and this is the thing I alluded to in the thing I alluded to in my last video, is you can't get life. You can't try and get life right in such a way that then it'll be nirvana, it'll be perfect. You don't get the prize, and you might get your day relatively perfect. I mean, relatively right today. It'll never be perfect, but then tomorrow will probably fall short because you're looking for perfection all the time. You'll never get it right. You can't keep chasing to sort of twist those dials and fine-tune an external life around you. Why can't life get right for me? I'm frustrated by all these things, by women, by society and everything. They're doing their own thing. They don't care about you. They're selfish. You should be selfish as well, not to use other people or to use the world in sort of like a in a sadistic way, but to fine-tune your own dials. Anyway, again, onto the topic. I started to think about one way I get a sense of that I'm not around people, especially in an intellectual conversation or in a conversation that I like having, is what questions are being asked. It's not just that people are spitting out memes, right? It's not just that they're sort of saying, "Oh, she'll never love you. She's not yours. It's just your turn." All that kind of glib garbage that a lot of guys will just spit out, and they won't actually talk. They're going to throw you bumper stickers. So, like signaling that I belong in your tribe. We're all brothers, kind of thing. But you're not really talking to a person. You're talking to a parrot that's regurgitating memes. One good way is to sort of see what kind of questions are being asked. Because sometimes it's not just about the answers that we're searching for. The answers don't matter as much as the questions that are being asked. Because if good questions are being asked, you have a good conversation. And you can actually tell that a person is interested in what you have to say. They're bouncing off the last thing that was said, asking a question forward onto the next thing. So a lot of times when you get a sense of like, this is odd, I want to go, I don't like this conversation, there's nothing for me here, is what kind of questions are being asked. And then you'll kind of know that, this isn't the type of topic. This isn't the type of topic that interests me, or something along those lines. And a lot of guys in the manosphere, I think it's not so much that, see, they're searching for these answers, like I want to find the answer, they want to work women out, relationships out. What you probably really want is you want better questions exposed, asked, talked about, so that you can start putting these things together. Because at the end of the day, if someone tells you what to do, as grown adults, you don't like being told what to do. You can take it and test it and go, aha, that was a great way that human or someone else kind of phrased it. But what do I think about it? Let me chew on it. Nah, it's not really for me. Oh, maybe it is, but I'll say it in this way. This is how I'll use it. So it's about the questions being asked too. Don't focus so much on finding answers, which it is important. Don't get me wrong. Everyone's going to sort of jump up and down probably. But initially, proximally, you engaging with the material, with the ideas, what questions are being asked, and what's the tennis match back and forth between you and the conversation being had. Someone says they can be themselves around other friends, close friends and family. Yeah, that's true. A lot of times they kind of accept you too. They may not necessarily be your kind of person. Ask yourself, with people in your family and friends, you may have actually grown up with them. I know one or two lifelong friends I've had since high school, and they'll always be my friend. But if I'd meet them now, I probably wouldn't be able to be friends with them because they don't really integrate with my personality and who I am right now. But we know each other so well, completely, and we trust each other that there's a good live and let live respectful relationship we have, and we can always count on each other. So bear that in mind too, that your family and friends that you've had for a long time, they know you, and you both have boundaries and trust and all that kind of stuff. And that's great. I'm talking about who you engage with now, the life you have now given who you are. That's the tricky thing. That's where you need to be more honest with yourself. Morning to all the regulars. Donna, Mr. Highway, how you going? Let me see. Remember, if you want to ask questions, whole stack of emojis before your question, so I know it's a question. And don't be shifty and put a whole bunch of emojis there just because you want me to read something that's not even a question. Okay. Someone put a whole bunch of emojis after their question. Funnily enough, they're called Ascended Chimp. He asks, is it necessary to have long-term relationships so that you can go your own way? Is this supposed to be a joke? I think you'd ask most guys in the manosphere and that would be the opposite way for you to go your way. It would, in a perverse way, if you're looking for a push for you to finally break free and be who you are and not be afraid, is to have a bad relationship where you're pushed far enough that you just explode. But you don't want to be that. That's really hiding from yourself. Guys, emojis before the question. Everyone's putting emojis after. Rod says, is it really that important to find like-minded people or perhaps people who are just compatible? Well, what's the difference, really? Like-minded, compatible people, I'd say they're the same thing. We're talking semantics here. Compatible people, I believe the former is far too limiting. Like-minded. Oh, okay, I get you. Yeah. If you've... Look, if you've got a live and let live attitude, like I can be a different person to you, but we've got the respect of listening to another point of view and being open to it, and they let you speak, you let them speak. That's still compatible and like-minded people that still believe in the golden rule of live and let live. So it's kind of a grey area. I know what you mean. It's not that you need to find someone who's a carbon copy of you. That's virtually impossible. It's finding compatibility. So in that sense, I get what you mean. So it's easier to find compatibility. But today, people don't even put that as a prerequisite, a sensible one to try and connect with other people. So compatibility is the key in any relationship you have. Platonic, romantic, work, your hobbies, your interests. I've mentioned in videos where be careful which mentors you pick. A lot of people click on these really handsome, perfect teeth, Hollywood-style gurus who give you the 3 tips to radically change your life for the better or make $1 million, right? You're listening to someone who is nothing like a personality that's like you, that's like anyone you would associate with. And you're trying to pattern your life to them. You're making your life worse. If your life is bad enough that you need the help of that kind of guru that's nothing like you, that doesn't fit your personality, or at least doesn't speak your language, then you're making your life worse. I've mentioned there's a lot of good things you can cherry pick from Tony Robbins, but take a look at the guy and his lifestyle, his energy, his temperament, his personality type. Does his personality type speak to you? Sure, he can teach you a few things, but you need to chew on it, integrate it into your life and your personality and see what you can take from it. This is the whole thing. Know yourself so you're not a blank slate being written on by other people's philosophies. You need to take it and write your own. Okay. All right. No. Nikos, yep, it's coffee time. Davina says, is respect more important than agreeableness? Yes. You can be agreeable and people disrespect you. That's kind of being a people pleaser. And no matter what, you're always nice because it's a way of you pushing away, like, oh, the probability is, and it probably makes sense, if I'm overly nice, less chance I'm going to be treated bad. So if someone treats you bad, if you try and smother them with niceness, they'll probably there's more of a chance that they'll kind of stop like, oh, all right, I feel a bit sorry for them. I'm pushing things too far. Whereas if you stand up for yourself and say, hey, enough, I'm not treating you that way, it's like they might back off, or the fight might escalate. They might be the kind of person that loves kerosene being poured on the fire, and they're the kind of personality that loves confrontation. So respect is more important, I say, than agreeableness for yourself. There's nothing wrong with being agreeable with someone you've already set a baseline for that deserves respect. But you should always say your own yeses and your own nos respectfully. A. Nell says, so it's been 1.5 years since my last relationship, and I'm debating if I should jump back into dating or continue working on my self-development through therapy like I have been. Well, if you're asking the question, it probably suggests that you should hold off a bit more. I know with myself, I always kind of knew, okay, now I'm ready. If you don't think you're ready, then I don't think you are. I wouldn't push myself. But then again, sometimes you might be in a comfort loop and you just need something. Maybe just go out and socialize if you can, if you got friends. Or if you go out dating, specifically go out just to, specifically just go out and say, looking for friends, just looking to catch up, not ready for a relationship. Don't want anything serious, just looking to meet people. And, just take those baby steps just to sort of see in a real life test if you're comfortable with it. But then again, be careful. I know how easy just going with the flow can turn into you're in bed with the wrong person. So be careful. Forgotten through AKA whatever. I can't read that whole name. Traditional women benefit from feminist laws. Do you give them a pass? Do you give them a pass? Yeah, I suppose traditional women, they benefit from some feminist... I just said the word. Hopefully it doesn't get flagged. Laws... It depends on the personality. Again, you've got to judge the individual. This is the thing, you can't be so safe that you go, I'm so lazy that I don't want to think and discern. I don't want to judge the things that are in front of me and the people that are in my life. This is a trap a lot of guys. They want to figure out all women, and so when they go on a date, they're completely safe. They don't have to think. Look, you might as well be blindfolded and plug your ears and just grab their arm and go to the altar and have kids with them if that's what you want. It's like how lazy are we getting that we don't have any self-interest to discern what and who we're relating to? If you don't care, if you care so little about potentially, if you want a woman in your life, again, all these people get triggered. If you care so little that you can't be bothered thinking about the individual in front of you on a date, that you want to beforehand put all of them in a box, they're all like that, so every single individual, the moment they show some sort of individuality, it's like, whoa, okay, to the tip. And I'm not saying you excuse bad behavior, but it's a guarantee that you will be alone and isolated. You will not engage with anything in life because nothing's perfect. Things end. Things will not suit you 100%. Your hobbies won't suit you 100%. There's work to be done. You need to adjust yourself a little to your hobbies and your routines and things. Like you go for a walk, you can't just close your eyes and go in a straight line. You have to adjust on the path. It's whether the person's your path and there's a little bit of back and forth, to and fro, tennis match. It's this whole, I'm so lazy, I don't have any self-interest to think. and be selfish in how I think and be engaged with life and the person in front of me. The guys that want that, and I know they may have been hurt, but come on, man. Like, you're guaranteeing yourself being hurt over a long period of time until the grave. There's a benefit in understanding female nature, and a lot of the old school MGTRW manosphere content. The new stuff is just garbage, in my opinion. The pickup artistry stuff that masks itself as male self-help. It's not. It's male self-help towards hooking up. That's all it is. It's do this, do this, do this. Oh, and by the way, then you get women, money and riches and all that kind of superficial garbage, right? Take that all away, you're completely unhappy. I mean, the old school MGTRW stuff was based on really good philosophical, theoretical, epistemological knowledge, and just a lot of ontology, a lot of what is, a lot of practical examples and ways in which you can go about your life. Take little bits, put them in your pocket, use them, and really see and know life, like grab hold of it. Today, it's just all theory about hooking up. I really doesn't have much for me. And I think it's actually detrimental to a lot of guys that are trying to really find answers. Not Robert, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it, mate. Mr. Adam's apple, hey, look up. Do you want to see my Adam's apple? I don't have a protruding one, sorry. Jebediah says, what's your attitude towards psychedelics for consciousness expansion? I've heard that some people have found them helpful. I don't like taking substances because I'm a bit of a control freak. I don't drink, I don't smoke. I don't like being out of control, which is why probably I have this intellectual curiosity. I want to control myself as much as possible, so when I'm in relationships, I know where I am. I don't float. I'm not led. I'm very conscious about controlling myself in the environment I'm in. So I've heard it can be helpful, but I don't like to. And another thing is I don't like taking substances that make me feel good or giving me a buzz, because then I need to be reliant on them. And if they can be taken away, I can't get access to them anymore. What? My life's going to fall apart. So I'm not a fan, but you do you. Fishy Paw says, how would someone even approach dating these days? Online dating is a nightmare. I agree. I don't drink, so pubs are out. I'm the same. And if I meet women, how do you ask them out without crossing boundaries? Just be polite. Learn how to. I've mentioned this before. I've always gone on dates with the attitude I'm going just to meet a friend, a person. They are not a future Miss Right. All right? They might be attractive, but just be excited to say what you want to say and be who you want to be, right? I know it's easier said than done, and maybe I just naturally had it in me. I'm more of an introvert personality given my lifestyle, but I'm fairly confident when I'm in front of other people. I can hold my own. But I kind of selfishly and in a controlling way, I kind of know who I am, and I don't hate myself. And so when I go on dates, I like expressing myself. Whether they like me or not, I kind of think I'd rather them see the real me, and then if it's going to work, I know it's real. If I'm shy, I hold myself back, I put on a Romeo act, I try and impress. I feel nervous because, okay, now I've got to keep this up. That's what's tiring. And a lot of these guys do that later on. They feel like, oh, I lost myself because you never showed yourself. But I agree, the online dating world is a dumpster fire. Diana says, what advice do you have for when agreeableness gets in the way of honesty? That's a good question. There's tact. So there's a way of telling someone the truth without being blunt and rude, although some people's personality is like that. And if you know them well, then you know which way to take them. But generally, with people you don't know, there's a thing called tact. So if I don't know people, I won't go as deep into my philosophy, especially about women, because I don't want to offend people because I don't know their sensibility. Some people might be real snowflakes. But if I know them, or if there's a way of saying it, say for instance, okay, I'm in a conversation with people around the table and I don't know most of them, and they talk about men and women, I can talk quite civilly, know how to use language to still describe your point of view without spurging out and getting all angry. So if they start talking about, well, the pay gap, and rather than saying, effing this and this, you bitchs's and this and women, this and whatever, like really putting people on the defensive and putting their guard up, talk really intelligently. So even though they don't like it, they can't really react in a way that's like, you're wrong, I'm offended, because they just don't like what you're saying, but you're saying it as civilly as possible. So learn how to express your thoughts better. But yeah, it's like someone, if you care about your partner and say, do I look fat in these clothes? You don't say, compared to what? Yeah, you really do. I've been meaning to tell you, you need to lose a few pounds, you couch walrus. You need to say, I've been meaning to say you've put on a bit of weight, babe, but don't worry, you can take it off. I still love you, or whatever. There's a way of being tactful. You don't need to be rude to get off on abusing someone. Like, just check yourself. If you know that you get off on being rude, you get a buzz out of making someone feel bad, that's different. But there's a way of actually being polite and telling someone what's on your mind. But look, yeah, there is a difference between being agreeable and being honest. Honest is honest, and there's a way of saying being honest. You can be rude and honest, or you can be polite and honest. And if another person gets overly sensitive, it's not your problem, because you couldn't have said it any nicer way. You put velvet gloves on your answer. Trevor West said, Tony Robbins isn't for everyone. I'd rather Mel Robbins, actually. Yeah, Mel Robbins isn't bad, although she like, some things she says are good, and she's very, very open and honest, but she can be very emotional. I'd say that for women she's pretty good, not just because she's a woman, but because as a guy, if she's sort of so honest that she's crying on camera a lot of times, like she is, I don't think men get very much from that. Women might. Actually, probably women do, because they probably need to be a lot more honest and open that way. So she's probably more perfect for women. But again, I think she sort of used to drink a lot from memory. She keeps telling her about her addictions and problems, and she's always not following her strict routines and disciplines and stuff, which is good. It's kind of showing that we're all human beings and we're not perfect. But emotionally, I think men, while Tony Robbins is an extreme, men probably get more from Tony Robbins than from Mel Robbins, which is fine. You know, men and women need different medicines. Apex, thank you very much for the super chat donation. I appreciate it, man. Ken G says, Human, have you ever considered that the traditional marriage was an institution made to create our natural state, force women into relying on men, but now we can no longer pretend? Yeah, that's true. I've thought similar, not perhaps in those words, but that for most of us, most people aren't philosophically minded. They're not sort of individually, selfishly, philosophically minded like myself and maybe some of you guys, where 90-something% of people are very herd people. They're not interested in individual thoughts. So they need their philosophy handed to them, whether the philosophy is church, marriage, some sort of structure by which you can have an organized life. And then nature's taken care of too. So I'd say majority of people would do really well with marriage and children and sort of a routine that they're put in place, because they don't have much else to do. They like the idea of freedom. Like most women out there, I think they love the idea of being free, but then they get to midlife and it's kind of like, this isn't as fun anymore, but now I've gone so far that I can't go back. Like you said no to a couple of marriage proposals from nice guys in your 20s, and now you're thinking, maybe I shouldn't have. Or you've gotten used to partying so much or being a single and hooking up so much that you would like a committed relationship, which I'm thinking of my ex. She was so used to not having serious relationships all through her life that when she meets someone and wants to have one because she wants it, she doesn't have the mechanisms. It's very hard. Those muscles are not only atrophied, they don't exist. They never grew. So she's trying to pantomime what a person in a long-term relationship should be like, rather than genuinely always being that person and trying to be that person. If you've never wanted and you've never even tried and you never cared, and this is something for women especially, I don't care about marriage and long-term relationships or kids or anything. Even though I want all that, I'm going to defer it. If you're going to defer something you wholeheartedly want, you become the person that you pattern yourself into. You forget, even though it's in you, you start having this love-hate relationship with yourself inside because you're never giving yourself what you wanted, but you've drifted so far away from your own nature that who you've patterned yourself after now, this person, is constantly undermining what'll make you happy. No different to the guys that they might have wanted family and love and children and whatever in their lives, and for safety's sake, which I keep warning guys about, is to stay safe, they pump and dump, they hook up and leave. They keep themselves at a distance from life, from people. They don't want to work. They shut themselves in their own four walls. They play video games all the time. They don't have friends. They don't interact with the world. They have like a nervous, neurotic life where they might not be able to sleep. Their diet's not well. They can't talk to anyone. They're very particular in who they talk to. They're so particular in their lives that it's very, very difficult for them. So, I think most people would do well with traditional structures like marriage, church, and things. And I think that's what they were for before. They served nature, they served society, and now we're atomized individuals. It's gone the other way. Civilization has gone backwards, not because of technology. People think technology is the thing that drives civilization. It's that we've broken the social structures. First, we broke the roles between men and women. It was offensive now, according to women, to assume that a woman wants to be a mother or is going to cook or clean or contribute anything in a relationship. God forbid a woman wants to contribute anything a man would be grateful for. Oh, babe, thank you. You made me a sandwich. I'm not making you a sandwich. Well, what are you doing? Nothing. What do you expect me to do, though? Everything. Not only what my grandfather did, but on top of that, make a lot of money, have businesses, houses, so I've got to have 10 times more than my ancestors males did. You have 10 times less than all my female ancestors. How's that equation work? Any wonder guys are walking away. Again, it's not about anti-women, it's about know yourself. Have some self-worth and self-respect that I'm not playing that unbalanced game. There's a balance between me and my friends. There's such an imbalance between women's expectations and men. Men these days, they just want a woman to show up and they don't care about her values. Know what you say no to and know what you say yes to. Not what you'll say yes and no to from the safety of your bedroom, like now. Like, if a woman did this, I'd kick her to the curb. But then when you go out with a woman, like she not only does that, she goes further, walks all over you, and you still smile and you stay with her and you tolerate everything. That's the thing. It doesn't mean getting angry, but it means standing up for yourself. That's where your life gets better. Hopefully. Or better than it was. You know, there's no perfection, but you'll have a bit more self-respect for you. Yeah, we're in a lockdown here in Melbourne again until for 2 more days. Remember, if you want to ask questions, put some emojis next to before your question, guys, please. Nancy Drew says, what do you think of someone who walks ahead of you when you take a walk? They don't walk with you, but ahead of you, and you can't keep up. Yeah, that's a bit kind of, I don't know if it's rude, but some people are fast walkers. They may not mean it. If they're intentionally fast and they say, well, you've got to keep up, that's a bit rude. You're not considering the other person. But initially the question was, like, if someone walks ahead of you, if you're a woman, your guy walks ahead of you, I don't see there's anything wrong with that, because I believe a guy should lead anyway. Or if he walks next to you. But yeah, if someone's continually walking ahead of you or leading you around all the time and you let them know to slow down, or you don't like being led or something like that, yeah, that's a bit rude. But I wouldn't read too much. Like a lot of these signs, people, what I don't agree with, I don't think you should do, is keep your mouth shut, just look for signs and convince yourself via the signs that it is what it is, that the person is what they are. A lot of times it's true, but confirm what you see and observe by speaking up and asking questions and relating to the person, and then getting a holistic answer. Because there's too much safety of hiding and not expressing yourself, and really engaging and knowing, okay, this is the situation. I had an inkling that they were selfish, that they were walking ahead of me, that they were always, I was always doing what they wanted, but I speak up, and it's true because they don't care. They are doing it intentionally. They don't care that I'm struggling, or I need to keep up, or it's hard for me, or whatever. So you're basically being treated like a pet on a leash. So make sure you speak up too, to confirm what you suspect to be true actually is true. More comments from last stream. Yeah, I was talking about overthinkers, how they have it difficult in their own way. Robert says, I would rather overthink than underprepare. True. Rockspoon says, going with the flow will send you off the waterfall. The current is swift for a reason. Yes. The weather's odd. When I woke up about an hour ago, it was pretty sunny, and now it's cloudy. Donna would confirm this. It's really 4 seasons in one day. I'm always carrying a puffer jacket in my boot of my car, because at one moment I'm wearing a t-shirt, the next moment I need to put on a beanie and a thick jacket. Brad says, dogs are wonderful to have in your life. Yeah, I agree. One day I think if I can work from home all the time, I may in fact get a dog, but it's going to have to be a dog that suits my temperament. I don't like loud, yappy, and I know a lot of dogs that have that sort of thing, but I'm pretty sure I'm pretty good at training dogs and getting dogs to listen to me. From the little experience I've had with animals, I've had animals when I was younger, but yeah, yeah, I think when I get older, I may consider getting a quiet dog. Because you've got to consider also the amount of attention that a dog requires. You've got to walk it every day, even when you don't want to. If you can't, if it's raining, the dog doesn't care. It wants to be exercised. So things like that you need to consider. But dogs are great, yeah. Especially guys, if you've tried for years and you can't move on with all this kind of sort of male-female loneliness, companionship, you're just lonely, get a dog. A dog will cure your loneliness, especially for guys. It goes a long way. Because a lot of guys, see, a lot of women, they get it wrong. Men don't want sex from you. And it's proven where guys, they get a dog and all of the loneliness is ameliorated. They just want companionship. And again, a lot of women will go, "Oh, I'm offended. You're equating us to dogs." No, the companionship part is the thing men, and I'd say women do. They want someone there, although women need someone there that can do things for them. That's why a pet doesn't quite suffice. With a man, we're self-sufficient. We just want a companion, a person with us. We don't need you to do a song and dance. Women like companionship, but they need that companion to do a lot for them. A lot more than generally men need from women. So that's why a dog is a man's best friend, because a man just likes company. A woman likes company plus. Wet Palette Warrior says, constantly cutting without measuring. Nicolas Cage getting married for the 5th time. Yeah. I don't know what that guy's doing. But that guy's off in the... he's got his own kind of life, I guess. He married Lisa Marie Presley, and he's an Elvis fan. That's really weird. Got divorced from her. She made him sign... give away his cars. He had a big collection of cars, I'm told, and he sold his he had the first edition of Action Comics with Superman on the cover, which is worth, I think he had one of the few in the world that was in near mint condition, so it's worth like over $1 million, and he sold that. So he sold a whole lot of priceless memorabilia while he was with her. Yeah, he's just a... Look at him in his latest movies. He's trying to look young. That guy is afraid to die. That's what I see when I look at him. He's enjoyable though to watch in movies. I watch. Funnily enough, I watched one last night. What was it called? Next, with what's her name? Jessica Biel. Good enough movie, old school kind of movie, but it was kind of B grade, wasn't A grade. But yeah, cutting without measuring, that's a good way of putting it. I like that. I'm going to pin that. Bazza says men are very frustrated today. Yeah, so are women. But women don't care to know why, really. They keep pointing at guys. Google superstar human. Do you believe in Darwinism? Aspects of it. Again, I'm not like an acolyte, like a complete believer in any one thing, but there's a lot you can learn from different aspects, different philosophies, different ways of seeing things. Cameron says, as I have leaned away from agreeableness, there's been a transition to a focus on self. How do you approach prioritization of self-interest passions without being too critical? Well, if you're agreeable with everyone else, how about allowing some of that agreeable nature towards yourself and not being too critical of yourself. Because there's a lot of people that are so agreeable and they're relaxed and they give everyone the benefit of the doubt, but in themselves, they kick themselves. They have this bad voice inside themselves. They're very critical of themselves. How about offering some of that agreeableness to yourself? So if you don't get something right, you're okay with it. So I think it just takes time. If you're conscious about not being agreeable with people unless they deserve it, if it's fair, and if they treat you well, then I suppose I'm guessing, because I'm trying to relate it to myself and people I know, it starts to transpose itself to prioritizing yourself as well. So being agreeable is prioritizing everyone else overly. Self-interest and your passions, start using some of that goodwill for yourself. Emojis before your questions, guys. Hey Boffin, how you going? Yeah, hit the like button, guys, and the subscribe. It helps the algorithm and helps my channel stop deteriorating. It's funny how I've noticed not just my channel, but virtually all channels have like frozen this last 5 to 6 months, most of this year, while everyone's supposedly at home, locked down, watching more and more videos than ever. Strange that, isn't it? Doesn't seem organic to me, where things would organically grow or fall on your channel depending on how much you posted or didn't, or how popular your video was or wasn't. But now it's unless you're someone who's pumping out 2 or 3 videos every single day like a maniac, and you're going to burn yourself out, your channel doesn't grow. And they like that. And you burn yourself out, you need therapy, your life falls apart, they'll just take the next person who's going to burn themselves out and boost advertising revenue. Sorry, it was a bit of a rant. Mr. Adam's Apple, hey, I'm 59 and I am missing my top 4 teeth. I'm feeling self-conscious. Yeah, this is kind of a thing I talked about with someone recently. There's something that might be holding back guys, that might be superficial, that might go a long way to helping you connect with people more. So if you do have really bad teeth that you're always cowering and hiding yourself and you don't want to talk to people, get your teeth fixed. If you're overweight, or you're not, you want to improve yourself in some superficial way, but you think like, I don't care about that, but you don't like how it's limiting you in life. If it is something healthier, like your appearance, so if you look healthier, you will be healthy anyway, so it's a positive. So don't look at it like you're doing it for other people. But it might actually be stopping you from engaging with people the way you want, because if you're always shy and holding yourself back, you don't want to talk because you got bad breath, bad teeth, you don't like your appearance in some way. If there's a quick way, because superficial appearance can be fixed fairly easily, unless it's kind of expensive and you can't do it. But realistically, if you can, that can go a long way in you being more confident and being able to engage with people in your life a lot better. So don't discount that too. Ascended Chimp says, alcohol for people who hate their life and want to escape it for a moment. Yeah, a moment becomes a routine though. Most people who are alcoholics are wanting to escape or numb themselves from something. That's what I've heard. Hit the like button, guys. Yep. Forgotten Fu Ryan, aka or whatever. If it's not about the laws, then why condemn yourself to being a lone human? I'm not condemning myself. I'm just talking about a sensible way to conduct your life, whether you want to, if you want to be open to being in relationships or not, what standard you have by which you'll be in relationships. Romantic, platonic, jobs, routines, friends, whatever you want to do. Fortis, is Melbourne in Queensland or New South Wales? Melbourne is in Victoria. Bazza says, what happened to MGTRW? It's just TikTok videos now. Yeah, I know. Times are changing. People, it's kind of like people are mainlining the drug of TikTok, of all this clickbait. It's all just frantic ADHD kind of. No one's sitting still. There's no time to think. So basically, we're in a world of like TikTok, Twitter, like minimal characters, minimal time to watch things. So we're watching 15-second videos after 15-second videos, and you can't actually have any kind of conversation, sit with a conversation so it sticks with you, so you can know yourself and have a conversation with a person. You are literally driving by. Think of it this way. The life we're having now online on our phones, right? We are essentially driving down freeways looking at billboards fly past us. That's the kind of life we're having, 100 miles an hour, looking at memes and having conversations in that way, interrupting, flicking through, and we're not actually stopping the car, sitting down and having a talk with someone. We're not planting roots anywhere. So that's the brain that is being conditioned today. That's what happened to MGTRW. The early days of MGTRW, that the reason why I started making videos was that it was more philosophical, it was more conversational. The videos were like, most of the time, minimum 10 minutes long to 1 to 2 hour conversations. And it was very kind of calm, conversational. It was really, really something to absorb and chew on. And it would inspire other people to do the same, to talk, to work out things and really come to terms with things. Now it's like meme. I can't stand it. Even when I'm uploading, like if I upload, because I use Instagram as well, only as an advertising mean to get people to watch videos here, because a lot of people I use Instagram for photography. Like I follow a few photographers on Instagram, and so visually it's a great kind of calling card to kind of get people to, oh, look at this or whatever. So I use it for that. But I've noticed that even when I upload like a reel or a story or a picture, while my short little 15-second clip of my video here is loading, I have to watch one of their dumpster fire videos that they promote, and it shows you what they want. The videos that they want is frantic kind of, it's like a Tourette's syndrome kind of, what is it? What's that thing where people have seizures where they look at strobe lights? That's the kind of videos they want you to watch, TikTok style, bang, 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 an irritating soundtrack in the background going, like something just stupid and annoying. That's the kind of stuff that will get people's attention because it annoys you. That's the kind of videos that we're having. That's the attention span. That's the dating profile. That's the dating world we have now. Driving on a freeway, flying past billboards. That's your life. And then finally your car hits a wall and you die. If someone here in the UK says the pay gap, I just ask, isn't that illegal? Which of course it is. Yeah, there's an earnings gap, which which is justified because it's based on the hours you work and the experience you have, and how much you're owed and so on and so forth. It's illegal to pay someone less for exactly the same job, same hours you work. But a lot of these women, they just, because they've got the title, they've got a similar job, they want to get paid as much as the next person. But when you look at it, the person that's getting paid more, most of the time, 9 out of 10, is that they work harder, they do more hours, they've had more experience, and so on and so forth. And don't forget, there's a lot of these women, and I've had this because I've temped as well for women who have gone on maternity leave. They take time off for kids. Here in Australia, you can get a year's paid maternity leave while your job is held for you, where people like me used to fill in for a year for you in your job. And then you get a second year if you want without paid leave, but your job is still held for you. So 2 years off for every child. If a woman has 2 children, say, that's 4 years off. But on her resume, she's been there for she was there for a year, then she had 2 children. On her resume, she'll say, I had 5 years work experience. You didn't. You had 1 year. You spent 4 years at home. And so these are the factors when you look into it. Women don't have as much experience after when they have kids. They don't want to work as much. That's why there's a earnings gap. There's no pay gap. And you can see the women who actually reach the top, they sacrificed a lot. They put in the hours. That's why they get paid that much. But women just think, oh, well, I'm a manager, they're a manager. Why don't I get the same money? Because your job's different. You don't work as much. It's more cushy. You don't have as much experience. It's not just your title. A. Nell says, how do you deal with women calling you a misogynist just because you have standards and expectations of your girlfriend, wife, or significant other? F them. Women can have standards, and they're quite blunt about it. Like they'll look at you with one eyebrow raised as though you just made them eat a lemon if you don't want to do something romantically that they think you should do as a guy. Like they've got standards. They've got very high standards. And men always go, oh, sorry dear, I'll do that. But if you just sort of say, no, I expect this, these are my standards for a woman, and a woman gets offended, well, who cares? Women are allowed to have really high standards, but men can't have lower realistic standards. So no, who cares? Let them find their unicorn, their prince that they'll never find. Who cares? Like if you know that they're just sensible expectations. So for instance, if you're a guy, like you're a guy who wants children, right? And you meet a girl and she doesn't want kids, and it's kind of odd. What are you going to do? Lie just to be with her because you like the way she looks and makes you feel? That's a standard. It's a high standard. But then lower standards where you might expect to just to do something in your everyday life. But the less a woman wants to do, you've got to express how you feel, like how you show affection for someone. These women that don't want to show any affection in any way, especially if they know a guy really appreciates being shown love in a certain way, and women are like, I don't do that. And then basically every way a guy would appreciate being shown love, it's like, I don't do that. It's like, then I don't love anything about you. Oh, but why don't you? That's offensive. Or like, I can't believe you don't. Why? Just because you show up? You're either not the right person for me, or you refuse to do anything for any guy. I've said it in videos. Women today are very relationship lazy. That's one thing at least traditional values gave a woman. Whether you liked it or not, there were certain jobs in your roles, just like a guy. He has to do a lot of the hard external work, the heavy lifting, taking the garbage out, going out, providing, all that kind of stuff. Whether he likes it or not. You don't like your job? I don't care. Bills have got to be paid. You got a child, blah, blah, blah. But women today is like, they got to retire at home, which was comfortable, with their kids, and they had to wash a few dishes. And today, you've got a washing machine where you have to press a few buttons. You can get your housework done in a day within an hour. Or you can only do your housework twice a week, and each time it'll take you maybe 2 to 3 hours. It's nothing, especially if you expect the guy to still do the lawns on the weekend and do the external work. It's nothing, and you're still complaining. I do nothing, you know, let's hire a house cleaner. Really? I know as a guy, I feel good when I can do stuff. Not just for myself, but if I have a partner, I can show affection. I can do things for her to make her happy, to make her feel safe and appreciated. Women as well, if they don't want to do anything, they won't feel anything. If they're just an empty one-way street of give me love, and then no matter what a guy does for them, they feel like they need to monkey branch to something else because it's better, or they're bored, or they're no longer in love. It's because you don't give love. You get love when you give it. So don't worry if they call you a misogynist. It's a person, then at least you know it's a person that's not the same mindset as you. And it's probably not someone you want to be around. Google Superstar, thank you very much for the super chat. He asks, or she asks, do you believe in Darwinism? I think I mentioned there's aspects of it I think that are kind of pretty spot on, but I'm not a whole believer in it. As in, what the main tenet of the... It's not the strongest survive, it's correct. The correct term is the strongest are the most adaptable. I think that's very true. There's a misnomer where they think Darwin sort of said the strongest survive. The strongest are the ones that... No, the strongest... who... How does it go? I know it's taken in the wrong way. The correct term is the most adaptable are the ones that survive. Something like that. Boffin, I'm not sure what Not Human's saying, but just flush him if they're not listening. It seems like you're giving this person a few warnings. Rod says, I would be interested to know how to have a relationship with a woman who is bipolar or who suffers from chronic depression. Don't, man, don't. Don't confuse sympathy with love. A lot of guys have relationships of sympathy rather than genuine love and connection with a compatible person. That's just a never-ending one-way street where you're shoveling being agreeable, understanding, and you're just being depleted and depleted and depleted and depleted. And at the end, it might actually be even worse for you where they just leave for no reason. All relationships need to be a two-way street. Even with your hobbies, you do work on your hobby, you give to it, it gives back to you. You get enjoyment from it. You learn something, whatever it might be. But if it's a one-way street, like I wouldn't keep making these videos if nothing came back. I had no audience. I might as well just write for myself and keep it in my notebook. If I wasn't having a conversation with you guys, if I wasn't getting ideas back, if I didn't sort of wasn't able to connect with people and learn some new things and have some of those sort of things coming back to me. Nicholas says, have you read Women Are From Venus, Men Are From Mars? No, I haven't. A friend of mine has told me to read that over the years. That's a fairly old book. That's from the 80s, isn't it? Bazza says, Tony Robbins is very direct, like his style, but his knowledge is just memes. Yeah, I think it's also due to the people he's speaking with. He's a product of what works today. Machine gun. Meme after meme after meme after meme. It's like poetry at 100 miles an hour. He's very impressive though. Like I said, I can cherry pick from him. There's a lot of good stuff that he can say, but generally be careful who he's teaching you guys. Let me see a few more comments. Zwar said, is the battle easier if you don't think of your enemy? This was an interesting question. The Buddhist side of teaching would say it's easier because it doesn't matter whether it's your enemy or not. But realistically, you need to think of your enemy or your opposition, let's not go to extremes here, or your opposition or your challenge or whatever you're trying to work out, to not fail anymore, to work things out. Time to be better says, the best thing is trying and knowing you gave it your all. If you try halfway and fail, you'll regret it. That's right. If you don't try at all, you'll regret it. But if you gave it your all, with your eyes open, I would add, but still fail, you can walk away with the most peace in your heart, I think. I think this is very true. I keep trying to explain to people that sometimes, look, it's easy for people on the outside to sort of say, oh, human, you should have left your relationship earlier. I agree. But when you're in it, I know that I want to try as much as I can until it's absolutely clear for me I did everything I could. I had the conversations I needed to have. I tried and tried, and then there was no more trying anymore. So that afterwards, I can sleep at night. I know 100%. There's a lot of people that from their vantage points, like, it's easy for them as an observer to say, man, you should have left 6 months earlier. It's like, yeah, probably in retrospect, but I was in it. When you're in it, it's harder. It's like I could tell a parent whose son's addicted to some substances, like just kick him to the curb. Eventually they do when it gets bad enough. But it's kind of a bit smug when people their advice is laughing at you saying, as though you're a fool. Like, human, I saw that from the start. Like, you're a dope. You should have left earlier. You should have done this earlier. Yeah, I know, but I needed to make sure because it was something that wasn't just a analytical decision. It was something to do with your heart as well. How many of us who are struggling, like you might be addicted to something and it might be addicted to a bad personality. It's easier said than done when you're not in it. So I think that there's a little bit of lack of empathy or sympathy when you can kind of almost smugly laugh as have an air of superiority and saying, look at this dope. He's tolerating this. He left 6 months after 6 months of that abuse. I would have left straight away. Yeah, sure. I talk to a lot of guys who talk tough about women and relationships. And when they get in them, they kind of smugly smile and they'll go, yeah, I know. Yeah, what do you do, women? It's like, hey, you were talking tough before when you were single. And now when you're with someone, all of a sudden, let's not look at the elephant in the room. So, yeah, I don't like that, the ego in that. Flaccid Enduro, hey man. Yeah, he was featured in my last video. He had that really great comment. He says, do you think our mechanized and modernized society has effectively transformed or even destroyed any sense of traditional relationship to the point of no return? I don't say to the point of no return. I think it's going to adapt into something. Society always morphs. I mentioned before that society now is, to use a metaphor that you'll understand, is like being on your enduro bike and seeing every tree just flash by. That's the way we are on our phones. Like meme, news story. We don't actually stay with something. How many people read audiobooks? They can't even be bothered reading an actual book. They listen to audiobooks as they're driving or doing something else. They multitask too much. We are living our lives too fast where we don't need to. And it's taking away a lot of the things like trust, stability. So yeah, modern mechanization is helping that along, especially when you think about the youth that have grown up, the last two generations, grown up with the internet, and especially with social media, the last generation in full force from birth. How do you unwire that wiring now? Basically, it's almost like relationships for our children in the future, for the youth of today. You're pretty much guaranteed you're going out with someone who's gone to therapy, been to therapy, or is on medication. Just like, how do you deal with the speed of life now? The speed of memes flashing past you like billboards on a freeway. Like, there's no depth of absorbing a philosophy. It's reading one-liners like on a billboard. Bang, bang, bang. Quick, witty one-liners that you don't actually sit and say, okay, that was witty. Let's discuss why it's true. Let me look, whoop, no time. Next meme's coming up. Next one. So all these memes get imprinted like advertising. So instead of us discussing things in philosophy, I just had that thought, we are absorbing memes like advertising. We're absorbing ideas that we think is philosophy, that we think is conversation, because we're talking to each other like memes. We are talking to each other like advertising now. Just think about how that's changing the human being going forward. The youth of today, they're walking advertisements of Tony Robbins, of the 3 tips to improve your life, what food you should eat, intermittent fasting. Like, it's just meme after meme after the 3 or 5 tips. That's scary. And he adds, and should we focus on adapting instead of going back? Yes. Relating to the previous comment of Darwinism, the stronger, the ones who survived aren't the strongest. They're the ones who adapt. So we need to adapt. Part of adapting is knowing yourself, knowing what doesn't suit you, what you won't tolerate, what your no's and your yeses are. So yes, adapting. The old times aren't going to come back, guys. All these traditionalists, like, keep your women in check, bring the old days back. You're going to waste your life. Like, life moves forward. You need to adapt with it. If enough of us and you make friends with like-minded people, and you demand that who you are and what you believe is your philosophy and your ethics preside over your life, then keep pushing that. And if there's enough of those people, they'll slowly change the environment and the world and society. But right now, society is a juggernaut of social media and memes. And all you can do is protect yourself against it and relate to people who are like-minded like you. How long have we been going? An hour and 12 minutes. Also, is the audio and video in sync? Because the last video, I changed my settings on my camera, and Streamlabs OBS doesn't actually work well with my setup, I found, with 24 frames a second. I had to go back to 30 frames a second as last time. So hopefully it's okay. I noticed a sync issue with the last live stream. Hit the like button, guys, and subscribe. Rod says, I would be interested in how to have a relationship with a woman who is bipolar. Oh, I've answered that question. You just repeated it. Remember, put emojis next to your question if you want to ask a question, guys. Quasimandias, hey man, hope you're doing well. He said, best advice I got from an old dude, practice your relating skills on chicks you don't expect to keep. Yes, I mentioned that my attitude was always, I was never going to meet a potential one or my girlfriend. I always went to meet a friend. I was excited to catch up with someone. So I really didn't go there expecting to date someone. I expected it just to be a good time with a person, catching up and talking. I was going to have a good conversation. That's what I was expecting, and maybe a lot of times those expectations failed. But that's the limit of the expectations I had. Going to meet someone that potentially looked good and, like, hopefully it'll work out. But in a realistic term, the moment is I'm going to catch up with someone and have a good conversation. That was it. But that's a good piece of advice too. Practice relating skills on chicks you don't expect to keep. So say hello to people. When the checkout chick says, hey, how was your day? Say, good, thanks, how's yours? And just throw in a comment just to talk to someone and just to relate to people conversationally. Like, get out of your shell and just, learn to have not chit chat, don't force yourself to. You don't need to force yourself to do what you don't want to do, but there's nothing wrong with developing your skills. It's kind of like you're trying to cram for the exam where it matters. Whereas if you learn to study all the time, as in talk to people, be more open, and not spit out memes, but just be yourself in your words and your conversation with men and women out there. A lot of these guys are like, don't talk to women or they get you. Does it mean that every woman you talk to can potentially hook you into marrying her or sperm jacking you? Come on. Is that how little your discerning capabilities in relating to someone else or anything is? Is that how deferring you are? Is that how much of a puppet you are? Like, when you relate, it's like you're not enforcing yourself, but you're placing yourself in the world, with people, conversationally. You're relating, you're talking, you're living. But if you never do it, and you're saving yourself for talking to the one, you are going to hamstring yourself. You'll probably ruin it. So practice just being yourself with anyone, and you'll find out where you fit, where you don't. And you'll start to notice that you don't have to be fearful about people liking you or don't. Not everyone's going to like you, but you have the freedom and the courage to talk to whoever you can and whoever you want, and to say simple hellos and so on and so forth. But good piece of advice. Practice relating on women you don't expect to keep. Practice relating on women you don't even want to date. Do that. So especially women, like I said, the checkout chick that you don't find attractive at all, but she's being friendly. Be friendly back. You'll get used to the mechanism of relating to people, so that when there's someone that you're very attracted to, you can relate a lot more honestly without being nervous or without having to put on an act like the PUAs. Samson says, do you believe your life is at least partially responsible for your habit to overthink? Yep. Or is it 100% natural to you? For myself, I'm convinced I was born with it. Probably a bit of both. So you react to the environment, and part of them were probably defense mechanisms I used to be able to relate or feel more comfortable in the world. Because I know when I was younger, I spent a lot of time in my room doing art and writing to try and work life out. It was the only mechanism by which I found I could do it, and read books, read the minds of people who could answer the questions I couldn't, people who were more lived than me, people who had more experience, mentors, things like that. But a lot of them were in solitary, myself on paper or reading the thoughts of others on paper. That could help me, where I had no one I could talk to, or I didn't have the words or the vocabulary to talk to. So yeah, I think it could be a bit of both, but it's not a binary thing. But I'd suspect, I know with me, a lot of it, I think a lot of my overthinking, if I'm honest, a lot of it was out of necessity, as a defense mechanism, as a way to understand things and not feel uncomfortable. Where I was in situations where I felt like a deer in the headlights, I didn't have the words, or I felt uncomfortable, I couldn't say no. Why? And I didn't want to feel like that anymore. As I said, I've got a bit of the control freak in me. I don't like feeling fear. I don't like feeling uncomfortable. I like to have as much control as I can. Yes, I know the guys out there saying, oh, we don't have free will. To the degree to which we can exact free will, if you're conscious in the moment, to exact a choice, to make a choice, to not go with the flow, to not follow your nature when there's a red flag, to be aware of it and say, hang on a minute, I know what that is because I've thought about it. No, or yes, or let me think about it. Wandering Wombat, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Some nice conversations going on in the comments too, guys. Keep it coming, even if you don't want to ask a question. Moonshot Human, what do you think about females that are needy? Is this a big red flag? And what kind of signals would you declare as needy? There's extremes. Women who are too needy can be too demanding. They can be neurotic. They can interpret everything you do or don't do as offensive or problems in the relationship. They don't have any self-confidence. On the other hand, again, relating to my ex, she wasn't that needy, but she was very cold. So there's this kind of balance, and again, you need to know in terms of your nature too. If you're a very independent person who likes, look, if the person is needy but they respect you, it's a hard question to answer because it's very, very nuanced. But if someone's very needy, as in they don't give anything back, obviously that's unbalanced. But if someone's needy in the way you like giving, that's different. Again, know yourself, know what you like. Because there's some guys that like a girl that's needy to a certain extent, like, you know, the guy who's the protector, and she's kind of beneath him, and she likes being taken care of. You know, the stereotypical short girl, tall guy who's very confident and is reassured. So she's needy in a way that works, that's complementary. But needy as in she's neurotically always complaining and needy and doesn't want to do anything, that's different. That's more a personality trait that's not compatible with yours. And again, especially if you know yourself and you know what you do and don't want, what works and doesn't work for you, it's not just a binary, she's needy, get rid of her. Like I said, my ex wasn't needy at all, but she was empty. She couldn't give anything either. But she wasn't needy. Actually, she said she didn't like guys who are needy, and I thought, great. It means she's not needy either. She wasn't, but she didn't speak up about anything. She didn't do anything for you. She wouldn't give anything. She couldn't see your point of view. She was kind of walled up in her own castle. So she didn't want anyone to ask anything of her. She wanted to be completely independent, so she didn't want a needy guy. But she was too ashamed. She was aware enough to know that she couldn't demand a lot because she didn't, you know what I mean? So she did have a needy nature, a typical female needy, like she needed stuff from a guy the way a woman does, but she was too stubborn to ask for it. So really take a look at, it's not just neediness, it's what kind of give and take works for you. So I can appreciate there's certain things a woman will need from me, but needy in terms of like a one-way street where she's constantly complaining and needy is very different, and where you just have to shovel down a one-way street and you get nothing back. Be weary of binary answers too. Some of these things are fairly nuanced. Fortis says, I can't get emotionally attached to another dog raised from puppyhood, so I just do rescues now. Many are older and discarded by disposable society. Yeah, sometimes I think my temperament might actually be better to get an older dog that's calmed down, because I don't like yappy, sporadic kind of dogs. Although I would like to have a dog from youth, the idea of training it. He knows me and I know it, rather than taking on someone else's mistakes and it being burnt into the dog. It's kind of like dealing with the scars in a woman that other guys have given her or inflicted on her. Rod, you keep repeating the question about how to have a relationship with a bipolar woman. or a depressed woman. In a one-word answer, don't. It's too much work. If there's a woman who's had therapy and she's really ameliorating a lot of it, and she's fairly functional and she's taken responsibility, up to you, man. But if you're the kind of person that loves broken wing people, saving people, it's a lot of work. Have I done all the questions? Yes, I have. All right, guys. How long have we been going for so far? Nearly an hour and a half. All right, let's do the last final questions. If you got any, in the comments section, put a few emojis next to your questions if you got any left, and let's hit the finish line, guys. Call it a day. It's sunny at the moment, so I may mow the lawn. Actually, I probably can't because it rained yesterday. I may do some gardening. My green bin, the recycling bin, is coming in 2 days. So if I don't do it now, I probably won't get a chance. All right, guys, if there's no more questions, because I've got a 20-second delay, I don't see... let me go back. There's some... Thank you, Meder07, for the donation. Grateful. Good, articulate, insightful therapy. Many thanks. Thanks for the donation, Meder07. Moonshot, thank you for the super chat donation. Thank you very much. Bryson Bost, thank you for the super chat donation. Says many thanks for being a voice of reason. Your generosity is appreciated. Thank you very much for your generosity too. Spec Ops, thank you very much for your donation. Some shekels for your time. I appreciate it, man. I think that's most of the super chats. I can't go back any further, sorry, than Spec Ops's super chat. It won't let me go any further back. So, unless there's any more questions, guys, let's wrap it up. Yeah, so basically I've been pondering the last couple of videos about not just kind of people talking in memes, but everyone trying to be clever. And not really, there's you notice when you talk to people, there's less and less of a person there. People are retreating back into barricaded walls where they learn no conversation anymore, and the only way they can poke their head out like a tortoise is to spit out a few memes, and that's the way they can socialize, and they put their head back in. And I thought that memes only require retrieval. They don't require you to engage and listen to the person and chew on what's being said there, like as Quasimodo said, to relate, like relating with the moment through conversation. So you're poking your head out like a tortoise, you're retrieving memes that are loosely related to the memes that are being discussed by other people. So it's like, oh, she'll never love you. Oh, she's not yours. It's just your time. It's just your turn. It's this. It's do the work. It's like don't give an F. It's like, man, are you gonna use any of your own thoughts? And I thought, there's no good questions being asked. People are just spitting memes that we've heard 100 times before. And there's nothing wrong with if someone sort of relates to a meme, says it, and then expands upon it and gives their thoughts surrounding it. But often it's just someone will spit out a bumper sticker meme, and that will be it. That's their conversation. And it's like, okay, you can recite things. you'll notice that a few of the people you follow who, there's a reason why you find certain people mentors that have something to say worthwhile that you listen to, is that they'll talk and then they'll relate. They'll say, as Nietzsche said, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll keep talking because they're relating what someone else said to what they're saying. They're not just making a video of meme after meme after meme after meme and nothing is their word. Think about that yourself, guys. Can you talk through your own words? And there's nothing wrong with referencing memes, but can you largely talk? Like, say, for instance, there are sayings and memes and authors that you respect. Can you speak like them? Or do you just pantomime word for word? Are you a photocopy? Are you a parrot that parrots every single word of the... Are you just someone who recites every word and you have a good memory? Or can you chew on and relate? Women by the dashboard light. Do you think gender relations will be fixed? Not back to what they were. The genie's out of the bottle with women. Now it's a matter of adapting. And men are adapting a lot quicker. I don't think women are. And I think women are just going to get more and more unhappy. There's just going to be... I mean, already there's 4 times as many women taking antidepressants as men. So I think it's just going to get worse with women because women don't want to take responsibility. They don't want to look in the mirror and say, I'm sorry. They don't say it in relationships. Why would women say it to the relationship with themselves? So if women find it hard to say, I'm sorry in relationships with men, they generally don't like to admit fault. How are they supposed to with themselves? Men are more likely to do that. A lot of guys just automatically, too much, will say, I'm sorry, dear, yes, dear, whatever, dear. Women don't do that very often. Women won't submit themselves to the truth. They won't submit themselves to reality when it demands they say they're wrong. So they won't do it to themselves, and they keep pushing forward with girl power to their own detriment. And you just have to see how a lot of older women don't mentor younger women to say, look, I was wrong, don't do what I did. They will say, yeah, men are wrong, men are bad. Like I always said, like all my girl power sisters have always been saying, see, we're proof that men are a-holes. It's like, no, you still don't want to look in the mirror and admit when it doesn't work. How many decades do you have to rinse and repeat the same thing without changing your stance? I mean, the smarter men will stop doing what they've always done if it's not working for them. Change perspective, admit, be humble. Be effing humble, ladies. Admit when you're wrong. I know it's very hard for women to do, if not impossible, but women are going to have a harder and harder time until they start to say they're sorry. And now they're even more scared to say they're sorry because they've burnt the bridge with men, openly saying men are nothing, men are crap, girl power, yay, we run this world, as Beyonce says. We're queens. We step on men's necks. You know, we control men with our sexuality, all that kind of stuff. And they're too entitled now. And they can't say sorry. So, I don't know. Women have got to get past their own psychology, I think. That's women's challenge. Guys are adapting. I think women are really, really slow to adapt. A lot of men have already gone their own way to survive. Like we can't work out women anymore. Used to be a time back in the 70s and 80s where, you know, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Men are always trying to work out what women want. Now it's not impossible. It's just hopeless. There's no point. Why try and work out someone who's lost it, who doesn't even know themselves, who refuses to admit when they're wrong? Objectively, when they're wrong. Like, everyone will tell you you're wrong, but I don't feel I'm wrong. I don't feel like I want to say sorry. Who cares? You're wrong. You should say sorry. You should be at fault. So, yeah, that's women's challenge. They go on by their feelings so much, and now they've cornered themselves in the position where the only way out is to evolve and be humble and admit that you're wrong. And give a little too. Women give nothing today. What's a saying? I remember I used to say, there was a cruel saying I used to say a few years ago where, in terms of women complaining and giving very little, today, most modern women out there, the only thing they bring to the table is complaining and orifices. But know yourself, and then you'll know what you will and won't accept, guys. And I'm talking about modern girl power kind of women, which is virtually most of them, because a lot of women will say they're not part of the girl power movement, but then when you ask them about the wage gap, affirmative action, the kind of the divorce laws, alimony and stuff, they'll still say, oh no, that's right, that should be there, and we should keep pushing that. It's like, okay, you're all lower F girl power chicks. DY, can you teach me how to record on YouTube? That's a lot, man. That's complicated. I still can't get it all right. Just hit the search bar on YouTube and just start learning by looking at how other people do it. There's a lot of how-to channels. That's how I learned a lot of this stuff too. All the stuff I know is self-taught. Pretty much everything. Not pretty much, everything is. Alright guys, if there's no more questions, let me quickly just scroll through the last few sections. Says, should a man end a relationship if there is no more sex? 4 years without since their current child. He cheats and got caught years ago and lost his house. Did he cheat because he wasn't getting any? Was he talking to her and she refused to? That's hard to kind of... Look, you shouldn't cheat. You should leave the relationship. If they've got a kid and you're saying they've had their second child, see, that's complicated. You've got your second child. You don't want the children to grow up without a family, but you want to have something on the side as a release. And if you've told her, she refuses to, that's a tough one. Because if that's a primal need, if you really need that, and she knew you when she met you that you needed that, then that's a tough one. I don't know what answer to give there. Sorry, man. But you shouldn't really cheat. You should just leave. But that situation's more nuanced. Again, see, there's no binary answer. Okay. How dare you says, regarding psychology, are you much of a psychoanalyst approach or a conductual behavioralist one? Probably the latter. The psychoanalyst one, there's a lot of terms being bandied around and people put each other in pigeonholes as a way of conveniently labeling people as something, whereas I'd rather sort of the conduct and behavior sort of thing rings more true if I understand what your question was. Some of these questions, guys, I don't understand what they are, so I won't read them out. That's right. Omega Sigma says, Herbert Spencer coined the phrase survival of the fittest. I think that was Darwin's counterpart. His partner or the other guy who was doing similar work at the time, or even co-wrote his book. I think it was his partner. And Darwin espoused a struggle for existence. Richard says, what happened to Coltane? Not sure. I haven't talked to Coltane in a while. I'm not sure. He's probably out there living life. Ricky says, do you think social media is the biggest factor enemy when it comes to relationships? Yes, but it's a tool. And if you're using it, you're contributing to it, the degree to which you're using it. So if you're on there all the time, you can't complain. So it's like you taking an addictive substance, drink, or up your nose, and then you complain about the system, man, while you're getting drunk on the system. If you're unhealthy, do you blame McDonald's or do you start eating healthy? You don't have to use my filthy mouth. Says, human, is it possible to have a relationship if I only care about what I can take from people and care only for myself? No. There needs to be a give and take. You can't be completely solipsistic and selfish in that way, where you just take. You're no better than women, the worst kind of women who just take and they don't give anything, and then wonder why they don't feel love. You probably will never feel what you probably would like to feel from a relationship, a romantic one anyway, and I'm talking traditional, not the modern BS, if there's no reciprocity. Davina says, I watch humans' videos not for the answers but the questions. Yeah, this is the thing. If you've noticed, guys, I ask a lot of questions and I chew on a lot of stuff because I think that's where we can develop strength in and of ourselves. So when we're in front of people, we can always ask questions of ourselves and of the situation. There doesn't need to be an answer when you're in a situation, when you're relating to people. It's you asking better questions to yourself and to others, and of the environment and the situation you're in. So I don't want to be prescriptive to people. I think being descriptive and chewing on what's happening, knowing how to think about the situation and what your ethics are, that's the important thing. You come up with your own answers, and then your answers adjust anyway. My answers of 5 years ago are different to my answers now. They might be the same. They might be refined, sharpened, or better, or clearer, or more evolved, you know? The questions are more important than the answers. A lot of times it is. Because the answers don't stay fixed. Think about that. You're in love in your first year, then it went wrong. What's the answer? No. It's keeping the questions going and talking. And then maybe it'll stay that way. You don't lock in someone loving you and then fall asleep until the grave and expect to have a great life. Being in the moment is constant questions. And don't get that confused with problems and stress. You can relabel that as conversation. Anyway, okay, last questions. Ivan says, how about it's a case of not trusting your own abilities to pick a woman wisely? Look, I had a lot of that in me as well. It's basically being a people pleaser. If you're basically, you go on a date and please, any woman take me. I want to be loved. Because I like the feeling of being with a woman. I like the feeling of being in a relationship. And so it's kind of like, it's like going to a job and you want the job. You'll adjust yourself to get the job. And I think a lot of guys go to dates like that they go there wanting to get the job. Without, and that's one thing I did. This was like in my 30s where I'd paid my house off. And then I kind of knew that I didn't need, I could actually pick my jobs a lot easier, where I didn't need to depend on them. I could pick a job, I needed to pay my bills. but I didn't need them desperately anymore. So I went to jobs interviewing the job. Like, did I like them? Did I like the personality of the person interviewing me? Did I like the office? Did I like the environment? So I went there interviewing. So I started to notice that I was doing that in other aspects of my life too. When I go on dates, I wouldn't go like interviewing, like literally thinking I'm interviewing this girl, but quasi-interviewing them, as in I'm going there to see if this person's a friend, if I like them, if I like how they speak and all that. Like, I'm not judging them like I'm not standing there pompously like a lot of guys in the PUA community. Is she good enough to get this job because I'm the prize? No, it's like, do I want to be around this person? Do I feel comfortable? Do I enjoy spending time with them? Do I like them? I. Like, does this suit me? I'm not there supplicating to a job I desperately need to survive. I'm not in my low-level Maslow needs where I'm desperate for survival. That's where you need to get to. Healthy Quadrant says, being agreeable is key in being in a relationship because the other can't be trusted to relate when we are honest. Discuss. Being agreeable with someone you trust in a relationship or you get to know is compatible with you. Sure. There's a sense, like I've mentioned before, being agreeable. But you just can't be agreeable with everyone. You can't just have standards way above what other people give you and you're not compatible with them. Davina says to Healthy Quadrant, I think you can be considerate and caring without being forced to agree. That's right, I agree. Drew says, Human, do you think there's a correlation between all the male bash ing after feminism? Sorry, I have to tap dance around these words. And the S, I have to tap dance around every word here because I know what the algorithm will pick out. SPERM. I should be able to say that right, but I can't. Count and testosterone. Even that's going to get flagged. I can't even read out your questions. So read Drew's comment there, right? Is there a correlation between girl power and men's testosterone going down? I think so. The more feminine AEST, this is impossible. The more, because I do this not because of monetization or anything, it's because like the video gets throttled where it actually doesn't get shown. So what's the point of doing it where other people aren't going to enjoy this nice conversation and it being spread around? It's actually been shown that the testosterone of men who were 65 back in the 1940s is the same testosterone of a 22 or 23-year-old male of today. So it's dropped. And considering that chemically drops in a man naturally as you age, and when a man, it's been shown when a man has a child, it drops 40% on average. So basically the data shows that the more female the environment is, the more testosterone drops. So consider that, whether you're in a family with a lot of kids or the environment is basically a matri, ARCHY. Yeah, chew on that. I think there's a big correlation between that. Careful how you word the questions because I can't. They're sensible. I want to read them out, but I can't because of how much of a snow FLAKE the algorithm is. You can actually see, you know, when you get the little ads on YouTube where you see the youth of today who are actually part of the administration, part of the people who are determining what censorship is or isn't, what is offensive, what isn't. You actually see them and you can actually see why they're offended by every single word you say without context. I can't just say biological terms that have to do with chemistry and chemicals that a man has in his body compared to a woman, because they're seen as, I can't even say the word. Anyway, I hate editing myself. I hate it. Because like I said, I don't really do it with people I have conversations with. It helps me sharpen my lexicon, but in a weird way where I'm having to slalom around my vocabulary. I don't like it. Meter7 says, could you say a few more things about fear, risks, getting outside your comfort zone, imagination, and creativity wise? Yeah, you like me, I've never liked the term of get outside your comfort zone, because to me it suggests like I need to be someone else. I know where I'm comfortable. It's more, I did a video a few videos ago. Do the things you avoid, you know you should do. So you know they're you know you're just stopping yourself from doing them because you're afraid. You're giving yourself excuses or you're procrastinating. Do those things. So as much as possible, take calculated risks, lean into the direction where you know you want to, but you're afraid to. Because I've noticed that when you face your fears, not others' fears, not adopting another lifestyle, but your life where you're afraid to go, but you know you should, as soon as you face your fears go away. Almost always exclusively, I've noticed with myself. This could be subjective, but 100% of the time, when I just do what I know I should do, life gets immeasurably better. So that's the one piece of advice I would always keep at the forefront. Do what you're afraid to do and you're liberated. Always. Not reckless. As I said, don't jump out of a plane. Jump out of a plane with a professionally packed parachute by someone, hopefully it's you, that you trust with your life. But don't just jump out of a plane. Don't just get out of your comfort zone without thinking. Opseeker. Hi, anyone knows in which video Human talks about silent dates where the girl just mirrors you? Yeah, it's called Beware of Silent Dates. It's the one where the cover, the thumbnail, it's a blue cover with a guy, an illustrated guy with magnifying glass over his heart, I think. That's one from a few years ago. Crummy VCR Human. I really think guys get hung up on the idea of free will and confuse it with free reign. I was stuck on the concept difference for a while. Yeah. A lot of people latch onto terms to excuse themselves from exacting a little bit of courage on their lives in a way they know that they should. And it's not a lot. They use the excuse of being rational and safe. Rather than just having a little bit of courage to do what they know they should do. All right, guys, I think, is that it? I think that's it. All right, guys, let's wrap it up. I had a great time. Hope you did too. I hope there was a few nice conversations in the stream and a few things to think about. I'll catch you in the next video. Have a good day. Bye.